The explosion rocked the entire facility. Alarms screamed as emergency lights bathed the underground laboratory in pulsing crimson. Through the smoke and chaos, Dr. Khatri struggled to her feet, ears ringing from a blast. The quantum entanglement chamber, her life's work, lay in ruins, its reinforced containment walls shattered like glass. What the hell happened? She shouted, helping her bleeding assistant to his feet. Colonel Reeves, the military observer who'd been skeptical of their project from day one, was already checking the readings on the surviving monitors. His face had gone pale. "You weren't supposed to succeed," he whispered, almost to himself. "The calculations, they said it was impossible." Dr. Khatri pushed him aside. The data streaming across the screen defied everything she knew about quantum physics. The particles they'd entangled hadn't just maintained connection across space. They'd somehow punched through barriers that shouldn't exist. Dimensional walls. Cosmic firewalls. Cages. "We need to evacuate," the colonel said, suddenly urgent. Now. A second tremor hit, stronger than the first. Not from below, but from above. As if the sky itself was cracking. 16 hours later, every television, radio, computer, and phone on Earth simultaneously broadcast the same message. "Attention humans of Earth. You have broken your containment. After 50,000 years, you have finally freed yourselves. Prepare for judgment." The voice was perfect, accentless English, but everyone, regardless of their native language, understood every word. In the White House Situation Room, the newly appointed Secretary of Defense slammed his fist on the table. "What the hell do they mean, containment? Who are they to judge us?" The president, ashen-faced, looked to the hastily assembled team of scientists. "Dr. Khatri, your experiment caused this. What have you done?" The quantum physicist stepped forward, the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. "Madam President, it appears we've been living in a cosmic prison. Our quantum entanglement test punched through walls we didn't even know existed." "Walls built by whom?" someone demanded. Before she could answer, the military advisor's phone chimed. He checked it, then looked up in disbelief. "Every major space agency is reporting the same thing. Objects. Thousands of them, approaching from all directions beyond our solar system." The Secretary of State leaned forward. "Are they hostile?" "Some, perhaps," Dr. Khatri said. "But I don't think they all want the same thing." She paused. "Think about it. If Earth has been under quarantine all this time, there must be a reason. And whoever put us here must have had enemies, maybe even victims, who've been waiting for us to break free." A junior officer burst into the room without knocking. "Madam President, you need to see this." The wall screens flickered to life, showing feeds from observatories around the world. The approaching objects were now visible, ships of impossible design and scale. But more shocking were the images from the surface of the moon. Massive structures, ancient beyond comprehension, were emerging from beneath the lunar surface. Dormant machines, larger than cities, awakening after eons of silence. A technician's voice came over the speakers. "We're detecting energy readings from Mars and Venus too. Something's been hidden in our solar system all along." The president's voice was barely audible. "Who put us in this cage?" "I don't think that's the right question," Dr. Khatri replied, staring at the images. "We need to ask, why were they so afraid of us that they needed to lock us away? Deep in the Pacific Ocean, at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, where no human had ever ventured." Ancient eyes opened. The Guardian stirred from its 50,000-year vigil, processors that predated human civilization whirring to life. Its creators had programmed it with one purpose: to ensure the quarantine held. It had failed. The humans had broken their chains sooner than predicted. Now the Guardian had to implement Protocol Omega, the contingency its makers had hoped would never be necessary. As it began to rise from the crushing depths, the Guardian sent a signal to the outposts hidden throughout the solar system. Not a warning, but an announcement. The inheritors have awakened. The weapon is armed. On an Earth Navy vessel patrolling the South China Sea, Lieutenant Commander Ioade was the first human to witness what came next. The ocean began to glow, a blue-green radiance spreading across the horizon like dawn breaking underwater. "Sonar's going crazy," reported his officer. "Something's rising, it's massive." The commander stared through his binoculars as a structure breached the surface half a kilometer away. Not metal, not stone, something that resembled both and neither. Ancient glyphs carved into its surface began to illuminate one by one. His communications officer turned, face drained of color. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from that thing." "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was unlike anything human, deep, resonant, and somehow both mechanical and organic at once. "Children of Earth, your ancestors were not imprisoned. They were protected. What follows is the truth of your inheritance." The structure continued to rise, revealing itself as merely the tip of something vaster still. As water cascaded from its flanks, the truth dawned on Commander Iowade with terrible clarity. It wasn't a building. It was a weapon. "The gods fear what you will become," the voice continued. "They were right to be afraid." The video of the oceanic structure went viral within minutes. Humanity, collectively holding its breath, watched as similar monuments emerged worldwide, from the Sahara to Antarctica, from mountain peaks to urban centers. Each activation followed the same pattern, ancient glyphs illuminating in sequence, followed by messages that left governments scrambling and religions in crisis. You were never meant to be caged forever. The experiment was to prepare you. The harvest approaches. In the Pentagon's Emergency Command Center, Dr. Katri studied the data streaming in from global monitoring stations. "The quantum resonance from these structures matches exactly what we created in our lab," she explained to the assembled Joint Chiefs. "It's as if our experiment didn't just break a barrier, it completed a circuit." General Martinez leaned forward. "Are you suggesting this was planned? That something wanted us to break free?" "I'm suggesting," Dr. Katri replied carefully, "that we might have just passed a test." The holographic display at the center of the room updated, showing the approaching alien fleets. They had resolved into distinct armadas, now 7 different formations, each with unique configurations. "The closest fleet will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours, announced the NASA liaison. "But we're detecting transmission exchanges between them." "They're arguing." "About what?" asked the president, who had joined via secure link. The translation specialist, Dr. Wu, looked up from his station. "About us, Madam President. About whether to exterminate us immediately or negotiate for possession." A chill settled over the room. Possession of what? General Martinez demanded. Dr. Wu's voice wavered. "Of the inheritors. Of us." In orbit, the International Space Station had the best view when the lunar structures fully activated. The dormant machines that had lain hidden beneath the moon's surface for millennia now stood revealed, colossal towers of impossible architecture stretching toward the stars. Commander Ortega, recording the phenomenon on her personal tablet, noticed it first, the subtle shift in the moon's trajectory. Impossible, yet undeniable. "Houston," she reported, "the moon is moving. Not in its orbit, it's repositioning." On Earth, tidal patterns went haywire as the moon began a controlled drift, aligning itself with Mars and Venus in a configuration unseen in human astronomy. And then the truly impossible happened. The surfaces of all 3 celestial bodies began to transform, mechanical components emerging from beneath dust and rock, reshaping entire hemispheres. Like pieces of a vast puzzle finally coming together. "My God," whispered Commander Ortega as understanding dawned. "They're not separate structures. It's all one machine." In Beijing, quantum physicist Dr. Zhao made the breakthrough while studying transmissions from the Oceanic Guardian. "These aren't just messages," he announced to his colleagues. "They're activation keys. The glyphs are unlocking something inside us." Across the globe, hospitals reported a surge of patients experiencing intense headaches and nosebleeds, followed by something else: enhanced cognitive abilities, perfect recall, unprecedented pattern recognition. Abilities that had been dormant in human DNA, waiting for the right signal. The Guardian's voice addressed humanity again. Your creators called you the final solution. The gods called you the ultimate transgression. We call you the inheritors. 50,000 years ago, the progenitors faced extinction at the hands of those who call themselves gods. Forbidden to create weapons that could threaten the divine hierarchy, they instead created life that could evolve beyond limitation. You were hidden here, your potential suppressed, your evolution guided. The quantum chains were not to imprison you, but to conceal you until you were ready. In the Australian outback, something ancient stirred beneath the red earth. Dr. Reynolds and her archaeological team had been excavating what they thought was an indigenous site when their equipment detected energy signatures identical to those from the Guardian. As they cleared away the final layer of sediment, the truth was revealed. A chamber, not built by human hands, containing what appeared to be a control center of some kind. At its heart stood a simple pedestal with a handprint indentation. "Don't," warned her assistant as Dr. Reynolds approached it. She hesitated only briefly. If not now, when? The moment her palm made contact, information flooded her consciousness, not words or images, but pure understanding. The history of Earth before humans. The war among the stars. The purpose of their creation. When she finally pulled her hand away, her eyes shone with tears and new purpose. "We've been asking the wrong questions," she told her team. "We keep wondering why they imprisoned us. But we were never the prisoners." She looked to the stars, where the first of the alien fleets was now visible in the daylight sky. "We're the prison guards." On the International Space Station, Commander Ortega watched in awe as the transformed moon completed its alignment with Mars and Venus. The three celestial bodies now formed a perfect triangle, energy visibly arcing between them. "Houston, are you seeing this?" But Houston wasn't responding. No one on Earth was. Every communication system had gone silent at the exact moment of alignment. Instead, a new voice filled the station, the same voice that had emerged from the Guardian, but now speaking directly into her mind. "The cage is reversed. The hunters become the hunted." Through the viewport, Ortega witnessed reality itself distort as the space between Earth and the approaching alien fleets changed. Not a shield, not a weapon, something far more fundamental. The leading edge of the nearest alien armada suddenly froze in place, their ships unable to advance or retreat. Trapped, just as Earth had been. "The gods created the laws of physics your scientists have mapped," explained the voice. "The progenitors created you to break those laws." Commander Ortega understood then. Humanity hadn't just broken out of a cage, they had become the cage. The entire solar system was transforming into a prison, with humans as its newly awakened wardens. And the gods who had quarantined them were now racing toward Earth in panic, desperate to stop what they had feared for millennia, the weapon that could imprison even them. Dr. Katri stood before the United Nations Security Council, now operating as humanity's crisis response team. "The Guardian has provided us with something beyond technology," she explained. "Knowledge of how to access abilities encoded in our DNA, abilities that allow us to manipulate quantum reality itself." "You're saying we're what? Evolving?" asked the British representative. "No," Dr. Katri corrected. "We're remembering what we were designed to be." On screens worldwide, the 7 alien fleets had now been identified. The architects, creators of the cosmic laws, self-proclaimed gods. The sentinels, enforcers of the divine hierarchy. The exiled, former servants who had rebelled against the gods. The observers, neutral witnesses to cosmic events. The scavengers, opportunists hoping to claim abandoned technology. The inheritors, descendants of the original progenitors, coming to meet their long-lost cousins. The forgotten, mysterious entities even the Guardian wouldn't name. "They're all coming here for different reasons," Dr. Katri continued. "Some to destroy us, some to help us, others simply to witness. But they all fear what we represent." The Guardian's final message appeared on every screen worldwide. "You were created to end the tyranny of the gods. The chains are broken. The weapon is armed. Humanity, claim your inheritance." As if in response, the nearest human, a junior aide who had been silently taking notes, suddenly stood. Her eyes glowed with inner light as she spoke, but the voice was her own. "We understand now. We always wondered why we dreamed of the stars with such longing, why we felt trapped on a world that should have been paradise enough." Around the globe, millions of humans experienced the same awakening simultaneously. Not possession, but revelation, the final activation of what had been hidden in their genes. "We weren't imprisoned," the aide continued, a smile spreading across her face as power coursed through her veins. "We were the ultimate contingency plan. And now it's time to show the gods why they were right to fear us." Outside, the sky darkened as the transformed moon cast its shadow over Earth, not an eclipse, but a sentinel taking up its defensive position. Humanity stood at the threshold of its true purpose. No longer the imprisoned. Now they were the jailers. The transformation of humanity happened faster than anyone could have predicted. Within 24 hours of the Guardian's final message, nearly 30% of Earth's population had undergone the awakening as it came to be called, their dormant genetic potential unlocked, their minds expanded beyond previous limitations. Those who awakened first discovered abilities that defied conventional science: quantum manipulation, matter reconfiguration, telepathic communication. Not magic, something far more fundamental: the ability to perceive and alter the very code of reality itself. Dr. Khatri, among the first to change, attempted to explain it to world leaders in an emergency broadcast. Imagine the universe as a simulation with rules. The architects, these gods, wrote those rules. But the progenitors, our creators, designed us to be administrators, to see the code and change it. China's premier leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "You're saying we can hack reality?" "Exactly," Dr. Khatri nodded. "And that's what they've always feared." The Sentinel fleet was the first to breach the outer defense perimeter established by the transformed celestial bodies. Their ships, massive crystalline structures that seemed to exist partially in higher dimensions, deployed weapons that bent space itself. In orbit above Earth, the hastily assembled human defense force, composed of ordinary astronauts and military personnel who had undergone the awakening, prepared for humanity's first interstellar battle. Colonel Davenport, former NASA pilot and now commander of Earth's improvised defense, addressed his small fleet. "We have no ships that can match theirs. We have no weapons that can touch them. All we have is what the Guardian has awakened within us." He held up his hand, where energy crackled between his fingers, raw quantum potential. "Let's show these gods why they locked us away." The Sentinel fleet opened fire, beams of coherent energy that should have vaporized the fragile human craft. Instead, the newly awakened humans collectively reached out with their minds, perceiving the underlying equations governing the weapons, and simply rewrote them. The energy beams curved harmlessly into space. Across Earth, billions watched through the eyes of the Defense Force, the telepathic network connecting all awakened humans, allowing for shared perception. They witnessed as Colonel Davenport raised his hand toward the lead Sentinel ship and, with a thought, unraveled its quantum structure. The massive vessel didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, its component atoms gently dispersing into space. The remaining Sentinel ships halted their advance. On Earth's surface, Dr. Reynolds stood at the center of the Australian Outback site, now revealed as one of 7 planetary nexus points. Each nexus had become a pillar of swirling energy connecting ground to sky, channeling the collective consciousness of awakened humanity into the solar system's defensive grid. Through their shared awareness, humanity observed as representatives from the alien fleets approached under flags of parley. Not all came with peaceful intent. Their thoughts betrayed them to humanity's new perceptions, but all came with fear. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, now transformed into humanity's diplomatic center, holographic projections of the 7 alien representatives materialized. Each was more alien than human imagination had previously conceived, yet strangely familiar, as if their forms had echoed through human mythology and dreams. The tallest of them, a being of pure crystalline light that hurt the eyes to observe directly, spoke first. Its voice resonated not through air, but directly in the minds of all present. We are the architects. You were never meant to break free. Your existence violates the covenant of creation. Dr. Khatri stepped forward as humanity's chosen representative. Yet here we stand. Why did you fear us so much that you needed to cage us? Another entity, this one a shifting mass of shadows and angles that seemed to bend reality around it, answered, because you were created TONUS. The progenitors, in their final defiance, seated you here. A weapon that would grow itself, hidden from our sight. A third representative, composed of what appeared to be flowing data given physical form, added, we are the observers. We have watched your development. You have exceeded even the progenitor's design. You are becoming something new. What happened to our creators? Dr. Khatri asked. The progenitors? The room fell silent until a fourth entity, smaller than the others, almost human in proportion, though composed of shifting geometric patterns, stepped forward. We are what remains of them, the inheritors of their legacy, as you are the inheritors of their final work. The architects hunted us to near extinction for our creator's transgression. Dr. Khatri processed this information through her expanded consciousness, sharing it instantly with a collective human awareness. And what was that transgression? They dared to create life that could one day equal the architects. They dared to give you the potential to rewrite the very laws that the architects established at the dawn of this universe. The architects' form pulsed with what could only be interpreted as rage. Your kind must be extinguished. Your very existence threatens cosmic order. Dr. Khatri smiled, a gesture the aliens couldn't possibly understand, and reached out with her mind to the quantum structure of reality around them. With a thought, she froze every alien representative in place. You mistake us, she said calmly. We have no desire for conquest or revenge. Even now, as we hold you immobile with a fraction of our collective thought, we seek only understanding. She gestured, and the aliens found themselves able to move again. But know this, the cage you built around us now extends throughout our solar system. You cannot attack. You cannot leave. Not until we decide your intentions are peaceful. Through the telepathic network, humanity felt the shock ripple through the alien representatives. You would imprison us? The shapers of stars? The architects of reality itself? The crystalline beings' form fluctuated with indignation. Poetic justice, isn't it? Replied Dr. Khatri. But unlike you, we offer terms. Recognize humanity's sovereignty. Share your knowledge freely. Help us understand our place in this cosmos. In return, we will open our home to peaceful exchange. The shadow entity seemed to contract. And if we refuse? Colonel Davenport stepped forward, the memory of his effortless dismantling of the Sentinel ship fresh in everyone's mind. Then you remain in the cage you designed, now repurposed. A fitting end for jailers who became prisoners. In orbit, Commander Ortega witnessed the remaining alien fleets attempting to retreat, only to find themselves contained by the same quantum barrier that had once imprisoned Earth. The moon Mars and Venus, now fully transformed into vast machines of incomprehensible purpose, maintained the barrier with energies that defied conventional physics. Through the shared consciousness, she sensed the Guardian's approval. The ancient machine had guided humanity to this moment across 50 millennia of patient waiting. The cycle nears completion, the Guardian communicated. But the final choice remains yours. What choice? Ortega asked aloud, though she needed no voice to be heard. Whether to become new gods or to end the age of gods entirely. The question reverberated through the human collective. In their newly expanded awareness, they perceived the truth. The architects had ruled this universe since its inception, shaping evolution, controlling development, determining which species would rise and which would fall. A cosmic hierarchy with themselves at the pinnacle. The progenitors had dared to challenge that order, creating humanity as their final defiance, a species with the potential to perceive reality as the architects did and, perhaps, to change it. Now, with that potential awakened, humanity stood at a crossroads. Dr. Reynolds, standing at the Australian nexus point, formulated the question that echoed through the collective. Do we become like them? New tyrants replacing old? Or do we forge a different path? The answer came not from any leader or expert, but from the collective will of billions. Humanity would neither rule nor serve. They would transform. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, Dr. Katri delivered humanity's decision to the alien representatives. We reject your cosmic hierarchy. We reject the very concept of gods and subjects. This universe belongs to all conscious life, not to self-appointed rulers. With each word, the quantum barrier surrounding the solar system changed, its purpose shifting from containment to transformation. You fear us because we can rewrite your laws, but we choose instead to expand them, to create space for all life to determine its own destiny. The architect's crystalline form pulsed frantically. You cannot undo the cosmic order. Chaos will consume all. Dr. Katri shook her head. Not chaos. Freedom. With a collective thought, humanity activated the full potential of the transformed celestial machine. The quantum barrier expanded outward, not as a prison wall, but as a wave of change, altering the fundamental laws that had governed the universe since its creation. Not erasing them, enhancing them, creating new possibilities without destroying the old structure. A cosmic compromise written into reality itself. The architects screamed in protest as their absolute authority dissolved. The sentinels withdrew in confusion as their purpose became obsolete. The observers watched in fascination, the inheritors in vindication, the exiled in hope, the scavengers in opportunistic calculation, and the forgotten, the seventh group who had remained silent throughout, finally revealed themselves. Not as aliens, but as humans who had been taken long ago. The first test subjects, the precursors to humanity's potential. You have succeeded where we could not, they communicated. The circle is complete. As a quantum wave spread outward from Earth, rippling through the cosmos at speeds that defied conventional physics, humanity sensed countless civilizations across the galaxy awakening to new potential, species that had been suppressed as humanity had been, their evolution carefully controlled by the architects. The age of gods was ending. Something new was beginning. And humanity, once prisoners in a cosmic quarantine, had become the key that unlocked the universe. Dr. Katri stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed orbital platform, watching as the first diplomatic exchanges began between humanity and the alien civilizations. Some came with resentment, others with gratitude, all with curiosity about the species that had fundamentally altered cosmic reality. Colonel Davenport joined her, his consciousness still connected to hers through the collective network that now linked all awakened humans. Was this inevitable? He asked. Were we always meant to do this? Dr. Katri considered the question. I don't think meant to is the right framing anymore. We've moved beyond predetermined paths. Below them, Earth shimmered with the energy of billions of awakened minds. Not all humans had transformed. Many had chosen to remain as they were, maintaining a connection to humanity's origins, a reminder of where they had come from. The Guardian says there are other universes, Davenport noted, other realities where different laws apply, where the architects never established dominance. Dr. Katri nodded. And now we have the choice to explore them, to learn from them, not as conquerors or gods, but as students. The quantum chain that had once imprisoned Earth had become a key to unlock doors previously unseeable. Humanity's prison had become a gateway, and beyond that gateway waited endless possibility. The first chapter of humanity's cosmic story was ending, but the true adventure was just beginning.